The Zmanim books. The Zmanim books, please. So the Ashkenazim, even though they don't wear it the whole time, some people say after you make the bracha for a few seconds, you should at least wrap yourself like the Arabs do. Others are some Ashkenazi poskim say we don't do that. We don't do it. We're not Arabs. We don't do it that way. It's still kosher the way we wear the talit with it sometimes over the shoulders, right? Usually people put it under the shoulder, over the shoulders, underneath, on top. Chabadnikim, they roll it underneath. Different methods, just to keep it from falling off all the time. Some people have a little chain here. That's popular in some places. Keeps it in place. But they're all kosher methods of wearing the talit. And everybody should keep their customs. Okay? Yeah, another question.
Right now I don't have a paligado with me.
Okay.
So actually I want to buy one, but a friend told me that I shouldn't get one because after I convert, then I'll get married with my wife again. So my wife is the one who's supposed to buy for me. Is it true like that or?
Well, there is some truth in that. And that there is a custom that the wife buys a talit for her husband. But this is a little bit of a different case. I mean, you don't have to prevent yourself from doing the mitzvah. Until then, that would probably be, if we're lucky, a year and a half from now. And if you want to practice the mitzvah of talit gadol, of wearing a talit, you can. And then maybe your wife can buy you another one. You'll have an extra one. It's all kosher. What you should be aware of, and people in the conversion process should be aware of, I think everybody, Israel's finished already. And Rabbi didn't have a conversion. So we're about half-half. Anyways, is that the person tying the tzitzit has to be obligated. And so when you're in the conversion process, you shouldn't be tying them yourself. But somebody else who was obligated is tying them, the person in the factory, to make sure that a Jew does that, and with the proper intention for the sake of the mitzvah of tzitzit, and then it's kosher for you to wear, for anybody to wear, It's nice to tie your own tzitzit. I do that. I teach my children to do that, but it doesn't always work out.
I remember when I get married, my wife, she bought me a beautiful talit.
Lovely custom.
Under the kuppah, I had my second talit.
Very nice, very nice. The idea really started from, it's a Sephardi custom, to put the talit on underneath the chuppah.
Okay.
The idea is, you say shechianu when you get a new garment, when you get a new talit. Why not? It's a new garment. And to say the shechianu under the chuppah, obviously, the implication is you're praising Hashem for all of the new things, like a new wife. and for the wife to she can say shechianu, she gets a new ring for sure, if nothing else. Like new clothing and a new house, hopefully she'll get a lot more than just a ring. But all sorts of things. So she can definitely say the shechianu. Sometimes I have the couple recite the shechianu together, and that's. But usually the groom recites the shechianu for the couple, and it's a very beautiful way of celebrating all the new things. And so getting a new talit, that actually makes sense according to the Ashkenazi custom, where you didn't have a talit yet. But according to the Sephardi, it's really actually a Sephardi minhag to put on a new talit under the chuppah, and you say the shechianu on the talit. And
the bride group put the talit together, right?
There is such a custom. It's a very symbolic act of sort of like the groom takes the bride under his wing, the wings of the talit, as symbolically his home. And the truth is, at one point, the chuppah itself could be a talit, and it could be the talit of the chatan. So there's many different customs. They're all nice.
That thing kind of reflects back to Adam and Hawa, right?
Yeah.
They are joining together again after being separated.
Sure, definitely. Unity and union is the theme at a wedding. Sure. But I thought you were going to say in terms of clothing also. It's mentioned in the Torah explicitly that who made clothing for Adam and Eve? That's right. Yeah. Hashem. I don't know if he used a needle and thread. Somehow he made the clothing for Adam and Eve.
Probably just the word.
Sorry?
Probably just the word, because that's the way he creates things.
Yeah.
You say that he killed.
Made them leather, actually.
Yeah.
First they took some fig leaves.
Yeah.
And then he made them leather clothing. In the Sefer Torah of Rabbi Meir, don't know if it was to be taken literally, this is machloket, how to understand it. It says, instead of the words, Vayas lahem kotnot or, with an ayin, which would mean clothing, garments out of leather, he made them garments out of leather for them, it says kotnot or, with an aleph, which means light. Garments of light. What are garments of light? That's cool. That's already for sure not with a needle and thread. That's some kind of metaphysical garment. And our sages tell us that the tzaddikim, in the future days, the ones who are on a high level, they will merit to have some kind of special cloak in heaven. They'll have a special cloak called Chalukah de Rabbanan, a rabbi's cloak. I imagine all of these are metaphors for a level of spirituality, a level of protection, a level of closeness, perhaps. But bears further definition for the Kabbalists. We'll leave that for a few days. We'll leave that for another time.
But you mentioned that the talit, when we are under the kuppah, it's like wings, you said.
Right.
But you also said we already had a chuppah, but the chuppah himself symbolized the new home. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. And the chatan spreading his talit over his wife is like an extension of that, bringing her into his home. That's right.
So
correct.
Come to my second question. It's okay.
It's fine. All that is one question. I do want to get to the test. Anything to avoid the test. I see. Ravid is like a child in grade school, trying to get the teacher to not give the test. Distract. Yes. Next, you'll have me tell stories about my army period. Yeah, I know the genre.
Beautiful. Going back to Shacharit. In the past, they learned me when you come in the morning to the Beit Knesset for Shacharit, don't talk to other people, don't say good morning, nothing, and you are allowed to speak to other people after the service. Mm-hmm. So until this time, you need to be quiet and don't talk to others. Is this right?
There is some measure of truth to this. Yes, there is an issue.
Is it only a custom for us?
It's actually written back in the Talmud. It's very, very ancient. Issue is that in the morning you should greet God first.
Right.
And therefore greeting others could be a problem. But technically, the law is limited only to saying the word shalom. Shalom is the official greeting. So you shouldn't say to someone shalom before you've prayed. After the prayers, of course, you could say shalom all the time. But what that means is that technically you're allowed to say other things. You're allowed to say boker tov. In Aramaic, the Gemara says tzafra tava, it's translation of boker tov. You're allowed to say how are you. You're allowed to have a conversation. Although the concept, beyond the issue of saying the word shalom, the concept is that one should not involve oneself with his own matters or mundane matters before you take care of your dialogue with Hashem, till you're involved. So anything that's going to be protracted and lengthy activity, whether it's in deed or in speech, is problematic. As you shouldn't first clean up the house and then go to daven. You should, first thing you get up, you get dressed, you wash your hands, whatever it is, and then you go to daven. First thing should be the prayers. there's a discussion in the poskim. Nowadays, laundry is very easy in the modern Western world. You take a pile of clothing, stick it in the washing machine, and you push on. Okay? Maybe that's allowed when you're on your way to shul. Because it's such a small and minimal activity, it's not a long, protracted, big deal. And so there is room to be lenient. But that's the question. It always comes... I'm going to tell a story from the army. It's, in the army, there's a regimen of how to open your day. They teach you basic training. You wake up first thing, you get dressed quickly, and then you go for a run. You have to do some morning exercise. This is the system. It's how they train the soldiers. Comes in big conflict with the religious soldiers because they know this halacha that you shouldn't be doing any type of protracted activity before davening. And this is always a matter of contention between the religious soldiers. And so in the religious units, when they've got a group of religious soldiers together, then they can make their demands and say, we have to daven first. And many times what the army's commanders will do, they'll say, okay, we don't do it that way. But if you get up early enough, before dawn, you can start any activity you want. And we'll start our morning run at 4:30 in the morning. And then we'll have our morning run. And then when the sun comes up, you can daven. And so they have that option. Halachically, it's totally kosher. If they started early enough, you're allowed. It's not considered morning yet, and so there's no problem. But sometimes, they try to, there's other things part of the morning regimen, like you're supposed to shine your shoes and shave. It's called galchatz. Giluach, tzirtzuach. Giluach is shaving, and tzirtzuach is shining your shoes. You have to do that every morning, first thing in the morning. This is part of, proper dress, proper getting ready in the morning. Is that allowed? Well, this gives the rabbis a little bit of problem, because you could say, well, that's part of preparing yourself for the day. You got to go pray. You have to be properly dressed and maybe shaving and without a razor. They don't force you to use a razor. You have to use kosher type of shaving. And, shining your shoes, how long does that take? You could maybe, let it slip. But this is also a matter of contention. Are you allowed to do that before davening? But anything that's protracted and lengthy, you should avoid. And, of course, saying the word shalom to greet someone and to have a long conversation is not appropriate. A short conversation, how are you? It's actually technically allowed as long as it's not going to, extend. And so you don't have to be rude. If it says good morning to you, answer them good morning. If somebody says, how are you feeling this morning? Don't just grunt. Which is what I did when I started to learn the halacha. I started to, I'm not allowed to talk before davening. And so I was a little extreme about that. And it offended my mother at the time when I was a young adult. She didn't understand what was going on. It's, I'm being nice to you. I'm saying hello. I'm saying good morning. How are you? How did you sleep? So what you should do is answer. But ultimately, I taught my mother that the problem is that I don't want to have long conversations before I daven. And she got the hint. She figured it out eventually. And she got used to the fact that we'll have our morning conversation after davening and not before. But technically, as long as you don't say shalom and you don't do any protracted activity, a long, lengthy activity, it's okay. Okay? So that's why you'll find people saying maybe tzafrat tava to you in Aramaic, or boker tov, and that's allowed. You can answer boker, or you don't have to just be rude. As long as it's not the word shalom and it's not anything lengthy, it's allowed. Okay? Okay?
So what is the allowed way of shaving?
Scissors instead of a razor. Now, some of the shavers, the electric shavers, almost all the electric shavers, by definition, they work by a cutting action, which is like scissors, because there's a foil, there's some kind of a net where the blade sort of
Yeah.
catches the hair between the net and the blade.
Yeah.
It's not just a blade directly on your skin. And so there is room to say that all electric shavers are allowed if they work in this fashion, because they're essentially like scissors and not like a razor. There is a debate. Some poskim are more machmir, and they say we're going to look at not only the activity of the cutting motion versus a dragging motion, which the razor does. There, we're going to look at the result. And the result is that if these electric shavers work so well, they're forbidden. It's going to give you a shave as close as a razor. That's not good. It might be forbidden. So there's a debate about that. There's room to be lenient. There's great rabbis on both sides of this debate. But that's why you will see perhaps some of the more religious people less shaving every day, a lot of beards, because they don't want to get involved in this debate about the electric shavers. Those who do shave, and there are many, many great rabbis and great Torah observant Jews who shave, they just shave using an electric shaver, which has a cutting motion. And there's further details. Some people say only some of the electric shavers are okay. Lift and cut might be more of a problem because you get underneath the surface. But
Make sure it has like a kosher sign on it.
if it has a kosher sign, then for sure it's okay. There are such a thing. There is such a thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Why are razors forbidden?
Yes. For the beard. The Torah says you should not use razor on your beard. Other parts of the body is okay.
It's like the thing why did the Gillette and stuff.
Not allowed.
What's a razor? No,
Not
that's a
allowed.
razor.
That's a razor. That's what a razor is. Yeah. Not allowed.
Because it's a blade. Okay.
Yeah.
Then not
Yeah. We're not sure why. The Rambam says that all these types of haircuts issues it's the style of the pagans.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do anything like the pagans. But for whatever reason, we're not sure. The Torah says you're not allowed to use a razor on your beard, on your face.
Egyptian mummies, we still have like Egyptian mummies with hair, and what they would do is they would have hair on the top of their heads and not the sides. So that for kings and for priests, for pagan priests, that was the custom for them. So basically, the Torah is saying don't be like them.
Right,
It's a question of separation. Like if you look at the context of where it is in the Torah, it's basically a question of you are a holy people, you are my people, and don't behave like the pagans, don't behave like the idolaters.
Right. It's a very convincing argument. However, like I said, we don't know for sure. And there's also, you mentioned the head, there's two mitzvot. You should recognize that there's two restrictions on haircuts. There's the restrictions around the beard, and then there's the restriction on the head. There's a kosher and a non-kosher haircut as well. Forget about the beard. Beard, you're only going to use an electric shaver from now on, right? Everybody in this room, if you shave, only use an electric shaver. But the haircuts is a whole other discussion. There's a famous something called a bowl cut, B-O-W-L. It looks like a circle. That's forbidden by the Torah because it's shaving off the peot. That's where this custom came. You see the Hasidim, they have the peot here. It's because they want to be very machmir, not to shave off these side locks, this area of the hair from the temples all the way down to the ear. Someplace there's a debate about how far it has to go down, but this is considered part of the head hair, and this cannot be shaved off. Even without a razor, it cannot be too close to the skin. It has to be somewhat grown out from the skin, and so that's the restrictions even in the head. What the razor part was from here and down, from the ear down into the beard. Those allowed if it's a scissor cutting motion. But above that, in this area of the head that is prohibited even if you use the scissors and you make a bowl cut where you totally make yourself bald over here. That's prohibited from the Torah as well. So you have to be aware of that. It's two separate issues regarding haircuts: beard cuts and haircuts.
I was trying to find a kippah that didn't make me look awful with hair, and now I've finally found one, I think. So that's what this is about.
Oh, okay. No, you look good. I don't think so. Just be careful not to shave your head too close, because you have to leave some hair over here. It goes from the ear to the temple. There's like a line here. Most poskim, there's a debate. This whole area from here to here, right? From here to here has to be not shaven too close. Some people say it should be at least 6 millimeters. Some people say 3 millimeters is good enough. There's room to be lenient, even less than that if you have to. But it's best not to get totally, it's not allowed to have a totally shaved head, totally. That's one of the prohibitions in the Torah. Payas, payot. The payah means the corner. We have the corner of the field that you have to give the produce of the field to the poor people, and you have the corners of the head, and you've got the corners of the beard. Now, beard, it's hard to figure out what exactly the corners are. For sure, down here there's a corner, but then there's two here and two here. Anyways, there's corners peot harosh and peot hazakan. The corners of the head, that's the haircuts we were talking about. The prohibitions were the restrictions regarding the haircuts, and the peot of the beard, the corners of the beard, and the restrictions on that. Each one is halachically defined a little bit differently, as we were describing, but we'll talk more about it on another time. Okay? Now I'm going to give you the test. Like it or not. Here it comes. Now I want everybody to take out a piece of paper. If you don't have a piece of paper, get one. I have one here. I have one here. Paper I have right here. So you could use these pages. Whoever needs a pencil or a pen, I have some here. And I want you to produce for me, please. This is your piece of paper. I want you to make the following charts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 periods of history. I want you to have the name of the period and the dates of the period. And then I want you to have, so I'm going to say the name, the dates, and the literature.
7
periods, that's right. As I said, I'm focusing on 1 through 4. That's what we covered. We didn't cover 5, 6, and 7 too much yet, so you get a break on that. But the very basics, this is what I'm interested in. The name of the period. This is the periods of Jewish history. The name of the period, the dates, and the literature. I'll make it even a little bit harder. The name of the people, or you could say the titles. The titles we give to the actors in this period. There's a title. A title like Mr., Mrs., Rabbi, Doctor, Professor, Lawyer. That's a title. So there's a specific title for the people in this period, in this period, in this period, in this period, or a number of titles. Okay? The titles of the people, the literature they wrote, and of course the name of the period, the name of this period.
That is not 25 degrees.
Too cold?
Way too cold.
Okay. Better?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Says
Okay.
I feel weak.
So we're asking for 4 columns and 4 rows. So 16. You see who gets 100. 16 out of 16 is full marks. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bonus marks is if you get anything the same 4 things in period 5, 6, and 7. All right? If you want, you can peek to the wall, but yeah, go ahead. Israel.
Before the title was it?
Literature means the books
The book.
that were written. Yeah.
Why do we have so much piece of paper? We're
Just
doing
one. Just one each.
Okay.
If you took more than one, you can give it back.
That's because of the material.
I'm giving you one for free. Beginnings or foundations. Either way. 2 names. You can choose one of them. The title, I'll give one that away for free too. Just to help you out.
Wow.
Dear Mr. Forefather.
That's a hate.
See here?
A hate.
Where? I can't where you're pointing. Achronim with a hat.
So I know how to spell it.
Perfect. It's a good notation system.
Yeah.
But another because you know after the year 0 is also part second temple period, right?
It's true, it's not precise. This division is not 100% precise.
No.
But
It's only less percent.
You can
within
you
500
can say
years,
70.
70.
you can say 70 if you like. Whenever you're finished, you could pass it up to me and I'd like to see it, please.
the Talmud was finished after 500, you can say, right?
What was finished?
The
The
Talmud,
Talmud?
with the
Yeah, you
Gemara.
could say that. Yeah. Yeah. It's a rough estimate. But
Oh, okay. But the Geonim, like, it's like a Gaon, right? It's the Gaon, not Geon. Don't write
Gaon. Yeah, Gaon. Yeah. In Hebrew grammar,
Yes.
the kamatz, when it turns into the noun, as it does here, to the plural, it becomes geonim instead of the singular is gaon and the plural is geonim.
Okay, so the same letter, but only the.
Exactly, different vowel.
Makes sense. תודה רבה, רבי.
בבקשה. How you doing, Ariel?
Wonderful.
Missed you on Sunday.
I did too, honestly.
So cute.
And Monday. Everything all right?
Wait, when did you miss me? And
Monday? Monday? You were here yesterday?
Here, no, but Sunday, yeah.
No, Sunday I had our meeting. You were here.
Class. Forgot. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. A likely excuse. In terms of the literature, you don't have to write all the books. Just give me an example, one or two of the books that were written in this period.
You wouldn't happen to have an eraser, right? Because there's stuff.
Is there none? There should be in the look inside.
Look.
Sorry.
All 7 or only 4?
The 4. If you're done with the 4, Brad, pass it up to me.
Wait,
Repeat.
why is there 7?
You can check it.
You can add stuff in between, it's okay?
In between?
Like, X out by 1. Like,
You want to add other columns like events? You can.
well, there's 7 up there, so. Oh, this.
7 rows. He's asking about the 7 rows. I'm saying we're only focusing on the first 4 periods. We haven't discussed the latter 3 so much. But you want to add other things? You can. We can. Perfect. Okay. Huh.
We are white nach.
I got it. Just give me a pen. We'll see. Well done. You see what I did? Just take a look at what I did. One correction.
Talmud, dan moesten we de Mishnah.
The Talmud should be with the Mishnah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. It's true that it was only finished at the end of that period, but that was the era of the sages. Of the Talmud was in the period of the sages.
Yeah, nog gewoon nog wel.
No problem.
But then I have to find out the book literature beginning then instead, and I can let me.
Responsa. Rigoni wrote primarily Responsa.
Response is good.
That's the literature that you would have.
The Ramban, he was a Rishon, right?
Rishon, correct.
They also was with responses, right?
Also, there's response everywhere, so it's always the right answer.
Okay. Oh yeah, and the Tosefta came later also in the time? Oh no.
Tosefta was during the period of the Mishnah and the Talmud. Excellent. Well done. Renan. Well done. Very good. Pass it down. Anybody else ready to show me their work? Not yet.
Especially number 5, 6, and 7.
Forget 5, 6, and 7. 1 through 4. Just 1 through 4. We haven't talked about that. 1 through 4, I expect you to know most of it. We've talked about it for so long. Come, Ravid, show me what you have.
Not so much.
Let me see.
I lost my memory stick.
It's very good. It's very good. I would add maybe in the First Temple Kings also.
Yeah,
Together with the prophets.
now I remember.
And here in the Second Temple maybe the Men of the Great Assembly, but very good. I'd say 90%. Okay, let's do it together. Let's do the help me fill it in here. Okay, Ariel, you ready?
I am actually.
You are, perfect. Okay, so what are the dates of the first one? We say the most important thing is that we go up to minus 1,000. Where do we start?
15.
Minus 1,500. The truth is some people put it earlier. Some people make it earlier.
1800 or something.
1800. We don't know exactly when Abraham Avinu lived. But
I put 2000.
you could put 2,000. But then I want to make them each 500 years, so it's just easier. You know what I'm
Can
saying?
go back to Adam.
No, Adam, I don't know. Anyways, and the literature, what we have is the Chumash, right? The Chumash from that era. We have the stories of the forefathers.
You wouldn't put Tanakh?
No, because
Okay.
because what happened in only up to a certain level of Tanakh. It was not only the Chumash plus the books of
Prophets.
the books of Yoshua and Shoftim only. Right? Yoshua and Shoftim were the first two books of the prophets. So you wouldn't be wrong if you were, but most of the prophets are in this next era. The next era is minus 1,000 till minus 500. What do we call this period?
The
We
first temple
call it the
period.
First Temple period. First Temple period. And the literature we have, of course, is mostly the prophets. Prophets.
And kings.
Yeah, but we don't have books called the kings. I'd say the titles would be kings.
Yeah, I mean the titles is stories.
And prophets.
Literature, I just said Mikra.
Literature, well, you could say, all of Tanakh, really, most of Tanakh, the prophets and writings.
Yeah, Tehillim and stuff.
Yeah, Tehillim, of course, right. And then the next period we have minus 500 to 0. We call that the Second Temple period, right?
Yes.
Second Temple. Everybody with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ariel, you good so far? Yeah. Renan, yeah.
The first period we can consider like the Psalm of Moshe Rabbeinu, like also there.
Yeah. It's true, but it's not in a book of literature. So there are some elements.
Yeah,
There's some elements of the Mishnah which also go back to Moshe Rabbeinu, but that's not as a literature. Here, what happened during this period? So what are the titles of the people?
I put sages.
So the sages,
Scribes.
primarily we say here, but here I would say,
Scribes.
good, scribes, and who was one of the most famous scribes?
Ezra.
Ezra. But Ezra was also one of the scribes. He was also one of the 120 men of the Great Assembly, right?
They're also prophets, right?
Some of them were prophets, which brings you at the end of the prophecy, the beginning of the next period, which is, we could call it the period of the scribes. Scribes, I would also say, also the pairs.
Oh, yeah.
The pairs are here.
Yes,
In this period. So the scribes, 120 pairs. And what type of literature did they do? Well, you could say the entire Tanakh,
Right.
which is, a compilation of and canonization of the above. Did you see what I did there? The Chumash, prophets and writings come together as a book of the Tanakh in this period. Any other writings, any other literature that we have from that period?
Yes.
What do we have?
There's a lot of apocalyptic and books like Maccabees and stuff.
There are external books, yeah, but they're not really part of the Tanakh. They're called not apocalyptic. Apocrypha. That's what you're looking for.
We can say that the Siddur is also in the second period.
Siddur, excellent, very good. You could say Siddur, although we don't actually have a proper Siddur till later. The first Siddur that we actually have is in the period of the Gaonim. Period of the Gaonim, we have a proper, what we call a Siddur. They called it a Machzor at the time, but primarily what they have is responsa. That's what we have left from the period of the Gaonim. There's some works, there's some essays and some small books, but one of the biggest books is actually, it's called Seder Rav Amram Gaon. The Gaon, this is of course the Gaonim, right? Where we jumped ahead to period number 5 here, right? Period of the Gaonim. So Rav Amram Gaon, he wrote what we would call today a Siddur. Pretty much it goes through all of Jewish life with what we say. In ancient times it was called the Machzor, called Seder, the organization of Rav Amram Gaon. But then I jumped ahead. We're back in, you could say Siddur, but the brachot. The brachot come from them. They started, right? I would say brachot. The blessings. The blessings.
And also the Knessets.
There are Batei Knesset from that period, sure. There's Batei Knesset from the Second Temple time, it's true, but it's not literature. Literature, basically, we don't have much. The Midrash, we don't really have much Midrash from that. There's one Mishnah which, has some teachings from the pairs. One book of Mishnah in the book of Avot. The first chapter of Avot has some teachings from the pairs. But most of the writings that we have after the Tanakh are in this period. The period of, what's it called?
The
The sages. Period of the sages, or in Hebrew, Chazal, right?
Chazal.
Sages of blessed memory, Chazal. And here, the sages get divided up into 2 periods, the Tanaim and Moraim. Okay?
Yes.
Now, what did the Tanaim write and what did the Moraim write? The Talmud, right? The Amoraim, Gemara, Talmud, same thing, for all intents and purposes. And the Tanaitic works. So what should I write here? What are the books of the Tanaim?
The Mishnah.
Mishnah. What else?
Tosefta.
Good. Tosefta is stuff left out of the Mishnah. What else? We have Midrash. Right? Although there are some Midrash which include Amoraic material too. Midrashim were probably collected a little bit later, but it is Tanaitic material for the most part. Sorry? Braitot, right? Tosefta is made up of individual braitot. A braita. Sometimes you call a braita something in the Midrash also. It's called a braita. A quote from the Midrash can be called a braita. Anything outside of the Mishnah is braita. So it's not. There's no book called the braita. Each individual teaching is a braita. Yeah.
I remember Sarah Cohen. the rabbis are going to say that first they start to pray together, like, and then they start to have Beit Knesset. They need to pray together and like.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like first come like a book of prayers, and they start to gathering, and then.
Or tradition. Books were,
No, like
few,
a book.
more oral law.
More oral, like.
That's right. There was some structure to the prayer service, and then they had these places of gathering. It's interesting his history. So this is pretty good. You guys, most of you got most of it. Yeah, how'd you do, Gabriel?
Good. I just used a different system of dating.
Forget about the dates.
Yeah.
Did you get the literature?
Yes.
And the titles?
I'm
and
just
the
saying,
periods?
I'm just saying I didn't say like year 0. I said year 3070. To remove
the Hebrew dates.
Yeah, to remove the guy from the question.
Got it.
You can use a common error, but.
If you know what we're talking about, it doesn't matter. This is just for convenience.
Yeah, I know.
I know that this is the secular calendar, of course, and we have our own calendar. Good, excellent. I'm encouraged, but I'm glad we did that exercise. Okay, so now for fun, we get to have some trivia. I have this trivia questions here. So.
You are going to continue your army period.
Okay, who did such a good job? I'd say Renan, come choose a card. Come choose a card.
Okay,
You choose.
I choose.
You choose.
Okay, I choose.
Anyone, okay. The question is as follows. Who was thrown into a den of lions?
Daniel.
Daniel. You get a picture of lions. Should we do one more?
That's usual.
Choose. Any card. Pick a card, any card. Okay. How many days did Joshua and the Israelites march around Jericho until the walls fell down? That's a tough question. How many days?
7.
And what do you say? I hear one answer.
7.
The answer is 7.
Yay.
Okay, good. One more for Hirsch to take up his seat. Okay, you choose one. Choose a card. Okay. The question is, this woman was barren, meaning she couldn't have children. But when God answered her prayer for a child, she dedicated her newborn son's life to God's work.
Anna.
And the answer is Hannah. Very good. Okay. I don't know if she looked like that. But anyways, that was fun, right?
This is fun.
All right. Let's open up the book to page 147 and
That's all.
let's learn some laws. Yes,
Where
Rabbi.
you can buy those cards?
I have a collection,
Okay.
but they're not for sale. But at the local store. Underneath your house, there's a store. They have not exactly these kind, but they have card games of various kinds. Jewish educational card games.
Because it's beautiful when you have in the evening when you go to seat.
Sure, at the table, we do that a lot. Our family games.
Beautiful.
My kids make fun of me all the time. They say, "Oh no, we're playing again." That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Sorry.
Maybe it's fun when they're kids.
It's fun when they're kids. And now they get older, they can actually have a real discussion.
Yeah.
You don't have to play it. But kids of all ages enjoy it. I played it with kids of all ages, literally. Okay, page 147, the 3 weeks. What I'd like to do now is for you, we have to do is 10 pages. We have to get up to page 160. What I'd like to do is give you 15 minutes to read on your own.
The Beit Midrash again?
In the Beit Midrash. In the Beit Midrash. All right, so we're all going to go up.
You want me to use more energy with my legs? I'm comfortable right here.
I do want you. I really prefer that we all go up. Page 147, chapter 8, up until page 160.
Why not the whole shiur in the Beit Midrash?
It's too loud for me. For speaking, for a lesson, I find it too difficult. My throat, as it is difficult, has difficulty. But ultimately, the study section of the lesson, no reason we shouldn't be in the Beit Midrash. It wasn't too loud last time. We went up on, what was it, Sunday? It was fine. So just find an empty spot, take notes if you have questions, and study on your own for about 20 minutes. This time we'll do 20 minutes. 10:30 we'll come back here and we'll take it up. We'll discuss it a little bit, okay? So we'll go up to the Beit Midrash.
We must go? Or we...
Yes, you must go. This is part of the educational, it's part of the curriculum, it's part of the educational directives. Yes, you'll be graded, that's right. You must spend time in the Beit Midrash, it's part of the educational plan. I'll stop the video.
I've been there.